Hello, my name is Dr. Gwynette, and welcome to the Autism News Network podcast. This is episode 19. You can follow me at Dr. Gwynette, that's at DrGWYNETT, and you can also follow our work on theautismnewsnetwork.com. We are joined today by a very special guest, Mr. Joshua Miller. Welcome, Josh.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
I'm all right. My allergies are acting up a little bit, but other than that, I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, tis the season in South Carolina, right?
Unfortunately.
Yeah. The home of pollen.
Yes.
Yeah, we've been pretty blessed here in Charleston that it's been pretty mild, but we know the heat and humidity are coming very soon, right?
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Josh is back, and he did a previous podcast with us, and you can check out that episode. I'm not sure which one it is, but it's early on, probably episode 5.
It's one of the earlier ones.
Yeah, and we wanted to bring Josh back because, hey, we love being in the room with Josh Miller and talking about whatever's on his mind. Josh is an Autism News Network participant, and he is a very talented guy. We're going to talk about some of his interests today. So first, though, Josh, I want to ask you, how do you feel like you're holding up during this pandemic?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. Since I moved to where I'm at right this second, I've been isolating for the better part of 2 years, so this ain't new to me, unfortunately.
Yeah, so you and I have talked offline about social isolation and how it's difficult, wanting social connections, and then the pandemic kind of takes away a lot of possibility, doesn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. But we're all a work in progress, so hopefully we can get through this and begin to expand our worlds out again. So, but yeah, what have you been doing to stay busy?
Well, I've been doing my online schoolwork with one of the local colleges, and when I'm not on a leave of absence dealing with medical stuff, I've been watching older TV shows like Gundam and TV with my mom, and reading books and trying to come up with ideas to write, that sort of thing.
Yeah, you're definitely
I'm playing Halo.
Playing Halo. Yeah. So Halo has been around a little while, but it's still a classic, isn't it?
They actually, this shows how old I am. Because I remember when it first came out. Now, for the Xbox One, they came out with, I think last year, the Master Chief Collection, where they took the original 2 games from the first generation Xbox back in the early 2000s. They took those 2 games, kept the same game, but they just updated the graphics to near Xbox One graphics. I've been starting with Halo 1, then I played Halo 2 finally. I've never played that before. Yeah. And 3, I got done with the side story, Halo 3 ODST, and then I backtracked to Halo Reach.
Yeah, and for those in the audience who don't know, Master Chief is the main character in Halo, and he's been kicking butt for a number of years, hasn't he?
Yep.
Yeah. What do you think it is about Halo that makes that game so special?
For me, I'm going to be honest with you, because I have a love-hate relationship with video games. Uh-huh. I can't just go on. For me to like a game, I like the story involved in it.
Yeah.
I don't play online video games because I used to, or try to rather, but I don't go online anymore because you get cursed out by 8-year-olds saying words that, I got cursed out, calling me everything but and they call me words I didn't even know existed when I was their age. It's like, give me a break. Yeah. It's not like it's Vegas and there's money on the line.
Right. Yeah.
So I just play the campaign, the story mode, and that's what I like about it. It's like, it's almost like reading a book, but interactive.
Yeah. The story mode is really cool. And do you like the vehicles in Halo?
Oh, yeah.
The Banshees. I remember the first time I rode the Banshees, those were really cool.
Yeah, they got the I like the Scorpion, which is the tank.
Uh-huh.
And then in Halo 4, they added some kind of small mecha suit-like thing. It's about like 12 feet tall and walks. Thought that was cool. And I bought Halo 5 at GameStop, I want to say at the beginning of April, right as the pandemic was coming to Charleston. And that was one of the last times you could go, actually. I think I got it the day before GameStop decided to do an about face and not let anyone in the store.
Yeah, I think for a little while, GameStop was trying to be an essential service, right?
Don't get me started on that.
For some people, I guess it might be,
No, I'm sorry. Video gaming is never an essential business. But
I think it's smart that we don't touch that one. Yeah, that's important.
I mean, I don't want to bash a company, but I mean, come on now. Anyway, I got it. I paid $10, I think, for Halo 5, and I've never played it, and I've been wanting to. So when I eventually get up to there, I want to play Halo 5. And then Redbox, I got this back in November. No, the beginning of December, my bad. Remember that video game that Jedi Final Order or whatever? I don't know. The interactive one that came out. And when I saw online, and you had to be quick about it, where Redbox, where you go get your movies at, they were doing away with their video game inside of it. So they were selling all their video games for like next to nothing.
Wow.
So I bought that game for $25 when everyone else was paying $50 or more for it.
That's good. Why do you think Redbox stopped doing video games in the Redboxes?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I mean, I know I never used Redbox. That was the only time I've ever even rented anything, and I bought it. So,
yeah, it's kind of an interesting little niche there that they've been able to eke out a living between a Blockbuster video store and Netflix. There's like this little tiny niche, and they seem to be doing pretty well.
I don't see how it's going to last for much longer as far as physical content goes.
Yeah, they're probably on borrowed time. That's cool. So you've also over the years been really interested in writing and things like science fiction. And what kind of stuff have you been reading or thinking about writing?
I haven't actually written anything in the better part of 20 years. In fact, let's see if I have it here somewhere. Give me one moment. Because I don't ever throw anything away. Yep, here it is. I'll have to send you emails of it later. But it's a little vanilla folder.
Yeah.
And I wrote most of this stuff 20 years ago. It's just story notes for a story I do back when I was in the 7th grade.
Yep.
No, 8th grade. And I just like to write science fiction stories. And right now I've been trying to get the work up the
Sorry, I'm here, Josh.
No, you're fine.
I had to step and close my back door because there was a guy with a weed whacker in the next door.
We can always edit it out.
So yeah.
I like to write, I'm just trying to work up the current, because I seem to have lost, as weird as this sounds, the passion to write. I mean, I've been making, it's almost like since I left the 8th grade and gone into high school back then, and then, the bullying really went up by a power of 10.
Yeah.
I've almost lost the passion to write, and I'm trying, really hard to get it back.
Yeah. And
so I joined a fan fiction group for Star Wars, and I'm trying to, write that just for practice, to just work up the confidence that I finished something, even if it's never going to be published.
Yeah.
Just so that I can eventually get to the step of working on an original story.
Yeah. And if you don't mind, tell our audience what fan fiction is.
Fan fiction is something. Hey, it's something that you have to be careful. You can never publish it because someone else owns the intellectual property to it.
Mm-hmm.
But fan fiction is where you take a story, let's say Star Wars, since I like it, and you write your own Star Wars story. But since you didn't have permission, you can never publish it. I mean, you could go on one of these fan fiction apps, I guess, and put it on there, but you'll never be able to monetize it, which is fine because I see it as practice.
Mm-hmm.
You can work up the skills and everything playing in someone else's sandbox, so to speak, and then eventually branch out into something else, into your own original.
Yeah. Now, you've had a long-standing interest in science fiction, and you were introducing me to the idea of some sophisticated writings about space colonies, and really it was pretty mind-blowing. But can you tell the audience a little bit about that?
I'm a huge fan of Mobile Suit Gundam. It's almost like the Star Trek of Japan.
Uh-huh.
And it's been around in Japan since '79. And just like the original Star Trek here in the States, it got canceled, before they could properly finish it. Star Trek did, the original anyways. Gundam also got canceled. And then just like Star Trek, it became popular through reruns.
Okay.
And that's because the original run of Star Trek, it crashed and burned, but when it went on to reruns, that's when it became popular. And the same thing with Mobile Suit Gundam. Now, and I bring that up because that's how I got, because when I see something on TV, whether it's science fiction or anything, I like to research it to see where they got ideas from. And in the Japanese cartoon, they have space colonies at one of the different Lagrange points in the Earth Moon system, and these colonies, like the ones in the original Gundam, were called O'Neill Type 3 space cylinders. And essentially, what it is if you take a cylinder, make it 20 miles long by about almost 5 miles wide, and you spin it a little over 1 rotation per minute, you could simulate Earth's gravity inside of it using the same principle that like the tilt-a-whirl at the fair, where you sit in and it spins really fast and it sticks you. It's using the same principle as that. And I've always been fascinated with space colonies because, unlike Elon Musk, I don't think we'll ever be able to colonize any of the other planets, even if we had the technology to make it, the atmosphere-wise, because of gravity. Mars has such less gravity than us, it would be hard on people to live their full lives and even come to visit Earth with the drastic change in gravity.
Okay.
So if you wanted to branch out into space, you'd almost have to do it in a place where you could have gravity near ours. And with space colonies, you could do that.
Yeah. And so you had an author that was kind of a pioneer in this area you were telling me about, right?
Yes. Gerald ONeill. I don't know if you can see it, but he I think he was at Princeton. I don't know. He was at one of the universities in the and in the late '60s. Him and his grad students were trying to come up with a way to how would it be possible to live in space, and they were talking about it, and they're like, well, in order to live in space, it would have to be comfortable. It couldn't be like the International Space Station, or in the '60s, it would have been, something made out of rocket parts.
Right.
It would have to be comfortable. You would have to have, Earth's gravity, this, that, and the other. Yeah, you'd have to be able to grow food and control radiation, this, that, and the other. So they came up with different types. I know they call them between Island 1, Island 2, and Island 3. And essentially, they're just different shapes and sizes. But, yeah, that's when they came up with it. And he came up with the idea for the mass driver so that they could launch stuff off the moon without using rocket fuel. So just electricity and magnets.
Okay. And what would they be launching off the moon?
Materials, resources that they mined from it.
Oh, I see. Okay. So you go down to the moon, you mine materials, and then
Because you would have to build this colony in space. You couldn't build it on Earth because it's so massive, and then shoot it in space. It just couldn't be done that way.
Okay. Interesting. So you'd have to use particles from the moon to construct the space station or the space colony.
Yes.
That's really interesting. And you had a model there.
Yep.
Can you tell us about what that is?
This is, I don't know if you can really see it good, but this is a small accurate model of what the Island 3 looks like, which is my favorite.
Okay.
And so this ring right here where my finger's at, that would be where you grow your food. I mean, I know you can't really see it in the picture, but this ring is made up of tiny, tiny little cylinders. And each one of those cylinders would have its own environment. So you could have year-round growth of watermelon or squash or, stuff that grows in the summer. It could be summer in each one of those tiny cylinders all year round. So you could have always in season.
That's cool. And so you're using sunlight. And then how do they control for the temperature in space?
The different, the way I understand it, because I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not a physicist, so I have a hard time understanding it.
Yeah.
I try to, when I read it, I try to see if I can relate it to something I know so I can get a better understanding of it.
Sure.
But you would control, I think it's through the mirrors, which is what, for the main colony, let's see if I can get, for the main colony, it'd be these things sticking out right here. I don't know if you can really see it, but that black thing that's barely visible, those are mirrors, and it has 3 for the main colony. You would direct sunlight via, it would move, so you would see the sun rise and set to simulate it.
Oh, so this was
you could close it to get darkness to simulate that.
And so in that book, The High Frontier by Gerald ONeill, he outlines a plan for how you, I guess, overcome some of the physical challenges of being out there.
Yeah, and there's a lot of challenges you'd have to overcome.
Yeah. Did he start out with a premise about why it was important to live in space?
Yes, he, the guy was ahead of his time. I mean, he knew from data that, eventually Earth is going to run out of fossil fuels eventually. I mean, because at the end of the day, fossil fuels are a finite amount of resources, and it doesn't replenish itself. So, once it's gone, it's gone. Mm-hmm. So between that, and he knew that, the environment, as far as, because unfortunately, with factories, it is toxic to, so it, it's harmful. So between that and the population growing, because now we've reached a stage in human history where people are living longer. Before in the past, you had diseases and, a lot of diseases that almost kept the population in check. And I hate to say that, I'm not trying to sound cold, but
I understand. But
it did. And now that, with modern medicine, that's not really no much of a problem for most of the world.
Yeah.
So people are living longer, and there's, again, just like there's only a finite amount of fossil fuel, there's only a finite amount of space.
Right. And
there's only a finite amount of fresh water for us to drink. Even though the world is mostly water, that's salt water. I mean, you can't drink salt. So that's why he came up with the idea for space colonies, because he's like, we can't live on the moon, not permanently. I mean, we could build bases there, temporary, but we would never be able to have a permanent 365-day, permanent thing there. And you can't live on Mars because of the gravity. And you can't live on Venus because the pressure will kill you.
Yeah.
Well, it says there, until we get faster than light travel, which that's not going to happen for a long, long time, you would have to build in space where you could literally duplicate the conditions on Earth so that people could live and grow, like that.
Yeah. Do you recall what he mentioned about water source?
I know he said water was precious, and but I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, because that's probably a tough one because water is also really heavy,
It is, because that's why he was talking about, we could get, we could mine, comets are made up of water. He was talking about how we could get water from space, and he said all kinds of different things.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting. So you can go pretty deep in that,
Oh, yeah.
And
also in Gundam, they also said the downside to it is when the antagonistic country, the Principality of Zeon, they actually took one of these things and dropped it on Earth and destroyed Sydney, Australia with it. So, they also showed where you could use it as a weapon, unfortunately.
Yeah, because it's so big.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's pretty wild. So he was writing about that in the late 70s.
Well, no, that's the Japanese guy that came up with the cartoon Gundam.
Yeah.
No, Gerald ONeill was more of an optimist. He wouldn't have wrote that in his book.
Okay. Gotcha. Awesome. Well, yeah, that's really cool. I want to read that, The High Frontier. And pivoting a little bit, you've been doing some photography recently, haven't you?
I'm trying.
Yeah. Tell us a little about that.
I've always been fascinated with, even as a kid, I've been fascinated with different alien planets, or what scientists would imagine an alien planet would look like. And to me, I feel like the closest thing that I would be able to get to an alien planet is taking pictures of stuff closer to the ground. Because, grass, may look simple to us because, we're over 5 feet tall. But to an insect, the size of an ant or something, grass would be the size of an average tree. Yeah. So how would the world look like from that? How would the ground look like from that point of view? And I've always been fascinated with stuff like that. And I took my Star Wars miniatures, which are not big. One of the AT-AT that's in the picture, is smaller than the palm of my hand.
Yeah.
I took, a cheap $20 phone, and I think that's what flared up my allergies, is because I hate pollen. But anyway, I had to get really close to the ground to take the shots, and yep, it's what I did.
Yeah, I saw those pictures yesterday, and they are awesome. We're going to be posting those to our Autism News Network Instagram. Various shots of the AT-AT. And what's the walker with 2 legs?
The chicken walker, ATST?
Yeah, the chicken walker. And the way the perspective is set up in these shots, it really does look like they're on an alien planet. And there's some really cool ones where my favorite one, I think I told you yesterday, was like there's one where the AT-AT is like crashed out in an anthill, and in the chicken walker. That was really neat. So we'll be posting those, and it's a great way to be creative and let your imagination run wild, and take advantage of being outside, because right now we're all kind of cooped up. But yeah, the price, of course, is the seasonal allergies.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, I enjoyed looking at those. We'll be sure to post those.
I was wanting to, my idea when I took them at first is that I wanted to take the pictures, and then I wanted to Photoshop the background out of it, like where you see my apartment or the cars or what have you. But unfortunately, the last time I dabbled in this type of photography, which was at least 3 years ago, I think, I had a different computer. I had a Windows computer. So I downloaded GIMP, which is a free Photoshop alternative. And unfortunately, GIMP is not really the best for a Chromebook, which is what I have now. So I wasn't able to. But eventually, I would like to get something where I can Photoshop it better.
Yeah, they look great now, but certainly there's lots of things that you can do with computers to, expand or optimize the picture.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And with the anthill, I had to be really quick because I was looking, because at first there was an anthill near my house, a smaller one, but those weren't fire ants, so they weren't aggressive. So I would put the AT-AT walker in the tiny mound, and they would just go around it.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I don't need that because I need the ants to look like aliens, like they're attacking. So I had to find a fire ant mound to, to put so that it would look, so they would actively attack it. And at the same time, I had to be quick so that before they found me and started biting me.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah, it's like the hazards of getting the shot,
Yeah. And did you see the bee pictures? Those ended up being my favorite, and that wasn't even planned.
Those are awesome. And I posted the first one to Instagram yesterday for the Autism News Network. And we've already.
Did you see the bee that was on the one that was under the stick where it was just his face?
Yeah, we haven't posted that one yet. The first one we posted was the bee kind of sitting from a side view. And then
yeah, he was flying. That's what was so lucky. I mean,
yeah, he was flying.
Because I tried to take pictures of a ladybug, but that one was moving just way too fast. It wouldn't cooperate.
Yeah, and then the other one that we're going to post today has you can see the bee right there. It's really cool. What a great shot.
And, those are the type of bees, because, bees get a bad rap. But there's two types of bees, really. There's those bees that are in the picture, and then there's the bigger, bumblebees. And the smaller bees, the one that's in that picture, they're not aggressive. In fact, they have their mounds in the ground like ants.
Yeah.
In fact, years ago, I found a mound in another place I lived at. And, I was able to get my head right next to the main hole, and the bees would come flying by me, go into the hole, completely ignore me, and come out, just like that bee in the picture, He didn't see me as a threat, so I was able to take pictures of it.
Yeah. That's really cool. Yeah, if you have any good pictures, definitely forward them on and we'll get them posted. I wanted to also highlight some of your work that you did a few years ago. A couple things. One, you wrote a piece for Project Rex, which is still up on the site, called A Glimpse. And can you tell us a little bit about why you wrote that and what it means to you?
I wrote that because, I can't remember what it said now. It's been so long. But, I wrote it because, it's just how it's just how I view autism for myself. It's like you said, that, everyone who has autism, is different. It's not like cancer where there's, it's not like different types of cancer where the symptoms are more alike than different.
Right.
With autism, it's a spectrum, unfortunately. And that, everyone manifests those spectrum, diseases in different ways. So, for me, I wrote it to describe how I personally struggle with autism for myself.
And it's a great piece. If you haven't read it, check out projectrex.org and you can just search Glimpse.
Mm-hmm.
Pull up Josh's piece. And it's really heartwarming, and he doesn't hold back. He gives a lot of the details, the joy and the pain. And it's really cool. And it's a fun read and a quick read. And
it's not long.
And then several years ago, kind of you built on that, and you gave a talk at the Low Country Autism Consortium.
Yeah.
And tell us about why that was meaningful for you.
Oddly enough, I was nervous that day, but oddly enough, I don't really have stage fright as long as I have stuff prepared to the T on what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And as long as I don't have technical difficulties with technology, I try not to use it if I can help it. And when I do, I try to use it at a minimum for that reason. Because technology has a mind of its own. And I don't like being unprepared. So if I have to speak and, I have everything planned to a T, then, I feel good about it. It doesn't bother me. And, I liked it because, I got to further, explore the stuff. Because some things, I was talking about, it does better having pictures, which was something I could do at the consortium you were talking about, because I had a PowerPoint presentation, something I couldn't do in a paper.
Yeah. I remember that day. It was a packed room. It was like standing room only. Yeah. And I had the blessing of introducing you that day. And I remember saying that if you're not afraid, it's not courage. And you were definitely poised to give the talk. But I think what I was so proud of was that you had the courage to share your your life with other people?
I mean, I'm an open book. I try to be now because, it seems like for the most part, society's attitudes towards, mental health have gotten better, over time. So I try to be an open book, because I like talking about, my struggles and I like hearing where, people say, well, I've gone through that, because that makes me feel like I'm not alone.
Yes.
Because it is easy for me to think that.
Yeah.
And I like talking about it, and it really hasn't been a problem for me.
Yeah. There's so many people who've said to me, Josh is so inspiring, and if Josh can do it, I can do it. So yeah, while you're sharing your story and figuring out that you're not alone, you're also inspiring a lot of other people to pursue their goals and their dreams and to keep working to overcome challenges. It's awesome.
Yeah, but I just want to stress too. I myself am a work in progress as well. I've got a long way to go. Because I get self-conscious when people say that, like you said, that I'm inspiration, because I don't really see myself as that. I see myself, I don't know. I feel like I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. So I don't know. I just, I struggle a lot, especially with loneliness and depression, because, I'm a walking contradictory. I want friends, but I don't, I don't want to stick myself out there into a new place.
Yeah.
So it's like I do and I don't. But so I don't know. I'm very complicated.
And welcome to being a normal human being. We all make mistakes. We all are walking contradictions. We all are a work in progress. So you're in good company.
Thank you.
Yeah. Looking forward, can you tell us about any dreams that you might have, things you want to accomplish?
Honestly, the biggest things I want to accomplish in life is, first and foremost, I want to be independent financially, and everything. Because that's my biggest fear in life, is that, something happens to my mom and that's just it. And I don't have anybody else to fall back on.
Right.
So I want to be financially independent. And two, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with disability. I just want to stress that before I say this next phrase. I am not saying that. Don't misinterpret what I'm saying. But for me personally, I don't want to just get a disability check. I want to be able to work for it, because, to me, again, this is just me. I feel like that, working is a reward, Yeah. I don't want to sit at home and play video games, and I feel like that's just wasting life. I feel like I personally could do more. So my dream is to be financially independent, to get off, Social Security, and I be able to own my own car again.
Yeah.
Maybe even write a novel, and I don't know, and do something I really enjoy. Right now I'm in school for medical billing and coding, but I'm going to be honest with you, I don't really care for it. I've never really cared for anatomy or anything like that, and dealing with bureaucracy and this, that, and the other. Trust me, I'm not a bureaucratic person.
So
and I agree with it, but doesn't mean I enjoy day to day in it.
So we're striving toward independence and a meaningful career, which is great. Those are great things to pursue.
Because my biggest passion in life, more than anything, is books. And I know that's hard. That may be weird, because it seems like books are a dying breed in light of ebooks and computers and everything else. But for some reason, I just really love books. I had a difficult childhood. And for me to get away from stuff, I used books. I read novels, and I read Jurassic Park in 8th grade. And, and I still remember Michael Crichton he's very descriptive. And the scene in the movie where the guy from Seinfeld dies by the spitting monster, or spitting dinosaur, rather. In the book, it was very descriptive, unfortunately. Yeah. And I still remember that page to this day, and that was 20 years ago.
Wow. And I wouldn't be surprised, because you read so much. That's probably why you're such a good writer as well.
I feel like you have to be able to read to be able to write. Yeah. Because there's some things that, you can watch TV, but unless you read, it would be a hard time to translate visual to written. Exactly. And that's why I like the Star Wars, the old Star Wars expanded universe, / Legends, what used to be the continuation of Star Wars before Disney bought it.
Oh, and we have to have you back to discuss that topic, because in some ways, the Autism News Network podcast, all roads lead to Star Wars, because that discussion is so rich and people are so passionate that we definitely want to get into that. So will you come back and see us sometime soon?
Oh yeah, I will. But my thing with the Star Wars fans of today, and it seems like it started with the prequels, is that I feel like people at the end of the day need to remember. I love Star Wars, don't take me wrong. I have the Imperial officer's hat. The whole 9 yards. My room has got Star Wars stuff all over it. I live and breathe Star Wars. That being said, and I love the old expanded universe stories. Were they perfect? No. There were a lot of stupid stories mixed in there, but that's bound to happen when you have over 200 novels. They're not all going to be blockbusters. So, let me circle back around before I continue my rant. But my point is, it seems like the fans have become hostile lately. Yeah. Like it's almost like the Sith. Like, you're either with me or you're my enemy.
Exactly.
Like, people grow up. It's I loved it. I lived and breathed it, used it as an escape. But at the end of the day, it's not real. It's like that Disney princess. Every time I see on Facebook, I try to avoid Facebook because I get tired of the, pardon my language, the BS. Yeah. But, every once in a while I'll post a GIF of the Disney princess from Frozen saying, "Let it go, let it go." Because, at the end of the day, there are much bigger things, to worry about in life than Star Wars. At the end of the day, Disney paid 3-point-something billion with a B for the rights to it. If they wanted to take the original films, go out in the Mariana Trench and just dump it in the ocean and replace the characters with Disney characters, that's their right. They paid the money for it.
Yeah, that's true. I never thought of that. So I love that you're setting that boundary between fantasy and reality. That's great.
And I'm autistic, and I feel like, there's sometimes autistic people seem to struggle with that boundary a little bit. And for me to really understand it and get it, that should be a wake-up sign that, all right, let's wake up, people. It's, if you like the expanding universe, great. I did too. Read the books and ignore Disney. But, no one's forcing you to watch it. Yeah. Write your own fan fiction. Just know that you'll never be able to publish it.
That's right.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. At the end, it's fiction.
Yeah, because people, you're right, they get very intense and fired up about it. So,
and it's crazy.
Yeah, and so yeah,
they run actors off of Twitter because they disagreed with them.
Yeah,
so I think that's insane. Just like with the kid from the Phantom Menace who played Anakin Skywalker, the little kid in the pod racing one.
Jake Lloyd.
They bullied that kid and ran him. But this was before social media, and they bullied that kid horrendously. It's not his fault that George Lucas can't write dialogue to save his life. Right. Even Mark Hamill in an interview from the 80s said, told George Lucas, he's like, George Lucas can create an extravagant world. He can. And special effects and this, that, and the other. But when it comes to dialogue, he struggles with dialogue. Yeah. And Mark Hamill told him that. He's like, and I saw it in an interview. I'll have to show you give you the link later. But he's like, George, he's like, people don't talk like this.
I didn't know that.
I mean, they're punishing the poor kid, when they should be punishing the writer who wrote the script.
And all of it, as you said, for something that's just a movie or,
Exactly.
Exactly. Well, this has been the Autism News Network podcast, episode 19. I wanted to thank Joshua Miller for coming in and sharing his intellect and sharing his life with us today. You can reach Josh at his email address, which is joshuapaleon@gmail.com. I'm going to spell that out for you. It's Joshua.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Yeah. Joshua, Joshua, Paleon, Pellaeon @gmail.com. Feel free to reach out to him if you want to talk more about anything we discussed on the podcast. You can follow me at Dr. Gwynette on Twitter and Instagram. And also, please check out our work on theautismnewsnetwork.com. We have lots of videos, newsletters, interviews, all kinds of good stuff for you to check out there. So for Josh, I'm Dr. Gwynette. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.